From the Center for the Study and Teaching of Writing at The Ohio State University, this is Writers Talk. I'm Doug Dangler. Today, social media experts Sean Holloway, Deborah Jasper, and Ryan Squire join me for part 2 of our discussion about the changing landscape of social media. Our talk will no doubt have you ready to attend the free-to-attend Digital Media in a Social World Conference at Ohio State University on April 1st and 2nd. This event will be headlined by Make Magazine founder Mark Frauenfelder, and more information is available at www.dmsw.osu.edu. But first, guest interviewers from the Ohio State University Intergalactic Science Fiction Club discuss the future of science fiction with sci-fi author Delson Armstrong. Stay tuned.
My name is Maura Heafy, and I'm a senior lecturer in the English department who has taught a number of classes on science fiction, and I'm joined by
David Perzinski. I'm a second-year student at OSU, and I am the president of the Intergalactic Science Fiction Club here at OSU.
And we're talking to Delson Armstrong, who is the author of Falsifier and the Prophet's Secrets, which are the first 2 volumes in the Red Serpent series, which, now, correct me if I'm wrong, Delson, these are the first 2 volumes of a 14-volume series that you have projected?
Yeah, that's right, 14.
Right. So 14 volumes of the Red Serpent series, and I'm looking at a quote from you, Delson, which is, "Science fiction has evolved over the years. Today's science fiction is more and more becoming a commentary on our life and society. We have seen this in recent movies, television shows, and books. What science fiction has shaped your writing in Falsifier and the Prophet's Secrets?"
Well, I grew up reading a lot of, the classic science fiction novels like Isaac Asimov and, H.G. Wells, Jules Verne, the classics. And I also grew up watching a lot of the science fiction films, and I was very much influenced by the idea of the future. What would the future be like? And that was my starting point. And then I went into horror. I started reading a lot of horror fiction, and then the idea of mingling the two, vampires and science fiction, came about.
I was actually surprised to see that you were hoping to work vampires into your story. But what made you want to include this? Is your current upcoming work going to be something like a space Twilight in the future, or is it...
Well, no, not really like Twilight in the sense that it's, it doesn't have those qualities of a romantic story. The vampires in this story are sort of different from the tradition of Dracula or any other original vampire story. It's more of the idea of the vampires are known as vampires to the humans of the story because they need energy or they need blood in order to survive. And they transmute this blood into energy for themselves. And they come from another planet, and they are actually the originators of the human race. So I kind of incorporated this idea of the ancient astronaut theory where humans were visited by extraterrestrials thousands of years ago, and I wanted to include that as well. So there's a lot of different factors involved in the story, where you have the normal structure of science fiction, post-apocalyptic story, and you also have different themes. The idea of what would happen after an alien invasion, what would happen, how would the humans react, what would they do, what would the government be like. And that's where the idea of social commentary comes into place. Government of the humans is quite dictatorial and totalitarian due to the fact that there is no order. And so one man rises and tries to unify them for the greater good, as he says.
And it is very interesting to think about what would happen in the future if aliens came and take over, and what would have an effect on our government structure.
Yeah, because, I don't know if you noticed, a lot of the science fiction that is available, it focuses mostly on the actual invasion rather than what happens after.
Instead of the social aspect.
Indeed, yes. It's fade to black just when, things get interesting, isn't it? And,
exactly.
You've decided to take it, well, how do we survive in this situation? And you mentioned two things that I think are interesting trends in current science fiction, and that is the emphasis on the post-apocalyptic and the emphasis on blending genres. That is, you said you looked at horror, you looked at science fiction and thought, I can do something with this. Are there any other subgenres, you might say, of science fiction that you think are important in the current world of science fiction?
I think something where they focus on technology, because the present day, technology really rules our lives. And the idea of where technology takes over, that's been done before.
Mm-hmm.
But where technology is able to create its own technology, the idea of singularity, that's something that's very fascinating.
Oh, yes, the big topic, isn't it? And big and very fascinating topic, lots of material there.
I was actually wondering what kind of new technology is going to be seen in your book. I know that previous writers have been limited by the technologies of their time, but nowadays, since the technology is expanding so widely, I was just wondering what kind of ideas and concept you see in our future.
In my story, it's such that I have included a lot of the archetypes, where you have the flying vehicles, all those things that have been overdone. But what I've tried to do is mingle technology and spirituality, in a sense. The idea that how can you control technology not only physically, but spiritually. So there are a lot of different spiritual aspects to it, where the idea of controlling energy, or the idea of converting energy into something else. So humans themselves, or vampires, have the ability to convert food sources into energy, like how we always do, but in the sense that they use this energy for destruction.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And is this energy somehow civil? I apologize, I'm a Star Wars fan. Is it kind of related to the Force?
Yeah, I did take some aspects of that, because what I did was I read a lot about Hinduism, a lot of the Eastern philosophies, and there's a particular chapter in the book, in the first book, which explores that aspect, where our protagonist is actually very interested and has a lot of knowledge about the different Eastern philosophies. And so there's a dialogue that goes on between them, and the idea that there are certain rules and regulations, those kind of things, just like you have in Star Wars.
Yes, and of course that can be absolutely fascinating, the cultural context, the spiritual context in which the culture, the hero has to operate, and all those rules that kind of limit his or her action, I should say.
Exactly, and that's another area of conflict for him, because he doesn't want to control himself.
What I immediately identified your stories as is the great subgenre of space opera. And I wondered how you saw working in the tradition of space opera, because space opera has had a kind of up and down history. It's gone through phases where critics and even authors have been quite dismissive, and then there's like a resurgence. So do you see yourself working in a kind of new golden age of space opera?
Yeah, I would like to think so.
Yeah.
But I really like reading a lot of space opera and watching space opera, and it's gotten a little of a bad rep in the past. I don't know why, but personally, I enjoy space opera, and I see that there might be a resurgence in that genre.
Yes.
It's good to see that you'll be contributing to the great history of space opera.
I hope so.